Hey, I'm Jacob, the creator of the AI Vaults newsletter. Every week, I hand the mic over to Google's Notebook LM to let AI break down the latest issue. So here's this week's news presented by Alex and Morgan.
Imagine, starting a company with just $20,000 and like 2 employees.
Yeah.
And then 12 months later, you hit $400 million in revenue.
Which is just insane.
Right. I mean, you didn't hire a massive customer service team. You didn't hire this huge marketing department. You basically just hired an army of artificial intelligence agents. So welcome to the deep dive. If you are here, you are likely trying to get a thorough but really fast understanding of the massive kind of fundamental shifts happening in the tech world right now.
Exactly. And we are looking at the exact moment this technology crossed a very specific threshold. I mean, we've moved completely past the era of the simple chatbot, right?
Yeah, the basic prompt and response stuff.
Right. The helpful assistant that just kind of sits there waiting for you to ask it a trivia question.
Right.
We are now dealing with autonomous agents.
Right.
And these are systems that actively run businesses. They curate the reality you see on your phone. And as we'll get into a bit later, they're actually sparking some incredibly fierce geopolitical showdowns.
Yeah, we have a lot of ground to cover. Today, we are pulling from a massive stack of recent sources. So we've got TechCrunch, official deep dive engineering blogs from Google and Microsoft, the New York Times, and some really heavy legal reporting from CBS and NPR.
A lot of material.
It really is. But our mission is to help you understand the invisible plumbing making these new AI capabilities possible. We want to look at how big tech companies are just frantically scrambling to adapt, and what actually happens when the raw power of these models collides directly with the authority of the federal government.
Yeah, and to kind of set the stage for you, think about how we used to interact with computers. It was essentially like driving a manual transmission car.
Right, you had to do everything.
Exactly. You had to have your hands on the wheel, you had to shift the gears, and I mean, if you stopped paying attention, the car crashed. But today, the car is driving itself. You're just sitting in the back seat, giving it a destination, and basically letting the machine figure out the optimal route.
So let's start with what happens when one person gets behind the wheel of these new AI agents. Because the numbers we are seeing out of the startup world right now are honestly hard to believe.
They really are.
There's this founder, Matthew Gallagher, and he built a telehealth startup called Medvi entirely out of his house.
Out of his house?
Yeah. They specialize in GLP-1 prescriptions. For anyone unfamiliar, GLP-1s are that massive class of new weight loss drugs, like Ozempic.
Right.
And the consumer demand is just astronomical. Usually, a startup trying to capture that much demand would need hundreds of people just to handle the intake forms alone.
So at least. Which is where Gallagher's approach completely breaks the traditional business model, because his starting budget was $20,000 and his total employee headcount, 2. It was literally just him and his brother.
Wait, really? 2 people?
2 people. And in year 1, Medvi hit $401 million in sales, operating on a 16.2% net profit margin.
That's staggering.
And it gets wilder. They are currently tracking toward $1.8 billion in revenue for 2026. For context, established competitors in that exact same medical space have thousands of employees.
Yeah, and way thinner margins.
Exactly, drastically thinner profit margins because of all that human overhead. Gallagher essentially treated AI not as a piece of software, but as his entire corporate infrastructure.
The technical execution here is just fascinating to me because he took the heavily regulated physical parts, so the licensed doctors, the pharmacy fulfillment, the actual physical shipping of the medication, and he outsourced all of that to partner companies through basic API connections.
Which is smart.
Right. But he kept the entire customer relationship and the growth engine completely in-house. And he did it by stitching together all these different AI models.
Yeah. He used Grok to write the backend code rapidly. He used Claude to process the really complex medical intake text. He used Midjourney and Runway to constantly generate and iterate his digital ad creative. Without a design agency at all. And then he plugged in 11 labs for the voice-based customer communication. He essentially built an automated pipeline where one AI just hands off its work to the next one.
And this really reflects a much larger sort of structural shift and how software development itself is changing, right?
Oh, absolutely. The tools are evolving rapidly to support this exact kind of digital assembly line. Take Cursor 3, for example.
By the coding environment.
Yeah, it's a really popular program that software engineers use to write code. Well, they just completely rebuilt it from the ground up. The underlying philosophy now is that a human developer shouldn't really be manually typing out code line by line anymore.
Okay.
So Cursor 3 is built entirely around managing parallel AI agents.
So it's less like writing a book yourself and maybe more like being a managing editor at a massive newspaper.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Like you are reviewing drafts from 5 different reporters simultaneously. You're crossing things out, sending them back for rewrites. And the reporters, the AI agents, are doing the actual typing.
Exactly. You have an agent working in the cloud building a database, while another agent runs locally on your laptop tweaking the user interface. And the software just handles the seamless handoff between them.
And we are seeing this move way beyond just software engineering, too. Like, look at Slack. They just rolled out their biggest updates since Salesforce acquired them.
Oh, yeah. The agent-force integration.
Yeah. They turned Slackbot into a fully autonomous agent.
Yeah.
It doesn't just schedule meetings anymore. This new Slackbot literally monitors your desktop activity.
Which is a bit wild.
It is. It can see what project you're working on. It drafts contextual emails to your team, and it can literally build entire event budgets by pulling financial data from different Slack channels without you ever asking it to.
It just does it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because it all sounds like this flawless utopian narrative, right? One guy sits back in his pajamas and watches billions roll in while Slackbot does his accounting.
Right.
But if you are acting as the managing editor for all these AI tools, what happens when a reporter goes rogue?
Right, the hallucination problem.
Exactly. Because our sources highlight a pretty massive point of friction here. Medvi's AI actually hallucinated drug prices. It just started making up fake ultra-low numbers, and Gallagher had to jump in, manually override the system, and legally honor those fake prices out of his own pocket.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, that hallucination is the perfect example of how the human role has fundamentally changed.
How so?
Well, you are no longer the creator, you are the ultimate backstop. You're the final safety net. Because when a human employee makes a mistake, they make one mistake.
Sure.
When an autonomous AI agent makes a mistake, it operates at superhuman speed, meaning it can repeat that same mistake 1,000 times before you even get an alert on your phone.
Oh, man.
So the human's job in this new economy is entirely about oversight, risk management, and basically catching catastrophic errors before they compound.
That makes total sense. But there is a massive physical limit to this entire business model, too. Right? Like, you can't just spin up 1,000 AI agents to do the work of 1,000 employees without basically melting a server somewhere.
No, you really can't.
And that physical bottleneck is kind of forcing researchers to do some insane mathematical gymnastics right now.
Yeah, the compute bottleneck is essentially the invisible wall of the AI boom. Running these models across millions of daily interactions requires a staggering amount of electricity and silicon.
Right.
Which naturally brings us to this massive breakthrough Google just published. They developed a new compression algorithm called TurboQuant, and they claim it shrinks frontier AI models down to 3-bit quantization with 0 loss in accuracy. And that yields up to an 8-time speed up on standard graphics cards.
Wait, hold on. I need to push back on this because that sounds physically impossible.
Yeah.
Quantization basically means shrinking the file size of the AI, right? Like turning a massive raw photo into a tiny JPEG.
Essentially.
Usually when you compress data that aggressively, you lose detail. Like the picture gets blurry. You were telling me they squished an entire highly complex AI down to 3 bits and lost absolutely 0 reasoning capability. How are they not losing data?
It sounds like magic, I know. But to understand it, we have to look at the mechanics of what they're actually doing. Specifically, a technique they call polar quant.
Polar quant.
Right. So in traditional AI compression, a lot of memory is wasted just trying to remember where the data is supposed to go. The system has to store complex quantization constants, which is essentially a massive map, just to remember how to unpack all the compressed numbers.
Oh, I see. So it's like instead of giving a robot turn-by-turn directions through a city grid like, go 3 blocks east on the x-axis, go 4 blocks north on the y-axis.
Yes.
It takes a lot of memory to store all those grid coordinates.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. Traditional models use that Cartesian grid, the x, y, and z. Polar quant completely throws that grid out. Instead, it converts the data into polar coordinates, so it just uses a radius and an angle.
So instead of the turn-by-turn grid directions, you just point an arrow and say walk 5 blocks in that exact direction.
Yeah.
You eliminate the need for the map entirely.
Exactly, because the system already understands the basic geometry of a circle. It is a massive mathematical shortcut that frees up enormous amounts of memory overhead.
That is wild.
And then, to handle the tiny bits of residual error that are inevitably left over from that compression, TurboQuant uses something called QJL quantized Johnson-Linden-Strauss.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
Right. It's basically a one-bit mathematical trick that acts as an error checker. It preserves the essential distances between data points without requiring any extra memory to store the corrections.
Okay, so they have figured out the math to make these things incredibly small and fast. But this isn't just theory happening in some academic white paper. Google literally just released Gemma 4, bringing this extreme efficiency to the public.
Yep.
And the biggest news here isn't even the benchmark scores. It's the legal license. Because they released Gemma 4 under an Apache 2.0 license.
And what's fascinating here is that that is a seismic event in the tech industry. Oh yeah, previous open models had all sorts of deployment restrictions. Like if you made too much money or if you had too many users, you had to pay the creator. Apache 2.0 completely removes those barriers.
Wow.
It means a corporate enterprise can take these highly compressed, incredibly smart models, download them, and build commercial products without any fear of Google pulling the rug out from under them or demanding royalties later.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And they released a few versions, right? Like the 31 billion parameter dense model is now ranked number 3 in the world for open models. But you also mentioned a 26 billion mixture of experts model. Break that jargon down for me. What does mixture of experts actually mean in this context?
So think of older AI models as one giant, massive brain trying to learn everything. Math, poetry, coding, history.
Okay.
It takes a lot of energy to wake up that entire massive brain for just a simple question. A mixture of experts architecture breaks that brain down into tiny specialized pieces. You have one mini AI that only knows math, another that only knows coding.
I get it.
So when you ask a question, a router looks at your prompt and instantly sends it only to the relevant expert. It saves a massive amount of computing power because most of the brain just stays asleep.
So they have these highly efficient mixture of experts models. But the ones that really stand out to me are the E2B and E4B versions of Gemma 4.
Right.
Because these are explicitly designed to run locally on mobile phones and edge devices, meaning no internet connection required at all.
Exactly. We're looking at the active democratization of AI here. I mean, contrast Google's approach with Mistral. Mistral is a very prominent European AI startup. They just had to raise $830 million in debt financing.
That's a lot of debt.
And what are they doing with it? They are building a massive data center in Paris filled with nearly 14,000 high-end graphics cards. It is the brute force approach to intelligence. Just build the biggest supercomputer possible.
But with algorithms like TurboQuant and edge models like Gemma 4, you won't always need a billion-dollar data center. Soon, frontier-level AI agents are going to run completely offline, just living entirely on the silicon inside your smartphone.
Yeah, and that reality, open source models getting incredibly efficient, running locally, and being given away for free under commercial licenses, it is causing absolute panic in the boardrooms of the closed source tech giants.
Oh, I bet.
They are realizing the raw intelligence of an AI is just becoming commoditized.
Well, yeah, if the engine is free, you can't survive by selling engines, right? You have to sell the whole car.
Precisely.
Look at how Google and Microsoft are fiercely pivoting their strategies. Google launched Gemini 3.1 Pro this week. It scored a 77.1% on the ARC AGI-2 benchmark. And let's clarify why that matters for a second. Old AI benchmarks were basically just open book memorization tests. The ARC AGI-2 evaluates pure logic.
Right.
It asks the AI to solve visual and reasoning puzzles that it has literally never seen before.
Yeah, it measures actual fluid intelligence, not just regurgitation.
And the examples of this fluid intelligence are staggering. I mean, a user gave Gemini a single text prompt, and it autonomously coded a complex interactive 3D simulation of a starling bird murmuration.
Wow.
And it reasoned through the emotional and atmospheric tone of Emily Bronte's novel Wuthering Heights and built a fully functional, sleek, custom website capturing that exact mood.
That's incredible. And Microsoft's countermove is equally aggressive, but it's focused purely on enterprise cost. They launched 3 new in-house models on their Foundry platform, the MAI series.
Cool.
Instead of building one giant, expensive generalist model, they went hyper-specialized and impossibly cheap. MAI Transcribe 1 is currently beating OpenAI's Whisper across 25 different languages.
That's a big deal.
Huge. MAI Voice 1 can generate 60 seconds of highly realistic audio in just 1 second of processing time. And their image generation model, MAI Image 2, is already being deployed at massive scale by WPP, which is one of the world's largest advertising conglomerates.
Okay, so if Google is giving away brilliant open source models and Microsoft is pumping out these hyper cheap, specialized enterprise tools, what on earth does OpenAI do?
Well, according to our sources, they declared a literal code red internally.
The code red?
Yeah. They actually shut down Sora, their highly publicized, mind-blowing video generation AI.
Wait, they shut it down?
Did, because video generation eats too many GPUs and they simply couldn't afford the compute drain while fighting this broader war. So they are reallocating every single piece of silicon toward a new model codenamed SPUD.
SPUD?
Yeah, which industry watchers assume is GPT 5.5 or GPT 6, but their strategy has clearly shifted. The goal isn't just to release a smarter chatbot anymore. They were trying to build an enterprise super app.
I see.
A single desktop application that combines the AI, your coding tools, your document editors, and a proprietary web browser.
So they basically want to own your entire workflow from start to finish. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because alongside building this super app, OpenAI just spent hundreds of millions of dollars to acquire a media company.
Right, TBPM.
Yeah, they bought the Technology Business Programming Network, which is this hugely popular live tech talk show. And the founder of the network, John Coogan, has deep, long-standing personal ties to Sam Altman.
And this is really the ultimate realization of commoditization. When the cost of AI intelligence drops to pennies, the real battle isn't happening in the code anymore. It is a battle over distribution, enterprise lock-in, and controlling the public narrative.
Right. So are they building a tech product or are they buying a PR shield? Because it feels exactly like a massive corporation buying a newspaper right before launching a highly controversial product.
Definitely.
They know that to win, they need to shape how businesses and the public perceive the value of their specific ecosystem.
And this fight for control and a narrative, it isn't just some corporate chess game happening in Silicon Valley boardrooms. It is actively spilling over into our daily consumer experiences. And more significantly, it is sparking constitutional showdowns with the United States government.
Let's look at the consumer side first, because we are seeing companies use this tech to curate our realities in real time. Macy's just rolled out a new chatbot powered by Google Gemini called Ask a Macy's.
Right.
And it's not just a search bar. It's an AI shopping assistant that learns your style, understands your budget, and factors in the occasion you are shopping for. During their testing phase, customers using the AI spent nearly 5 times more money than regular shoppers.
5 times. That is a masterclass in commercial curation.
It really is.
And then you have the complete opposite approach happening over on the decentralized social network, Bluesky. They just revealed a new app called Addy, built on the AT protocol and powered by Anthropic's Claude model.
Okay.
Addy lets users use natural language to what they call vibe code, their own customized social algorithms.
Vibe coding. I love that term. So you don't need to know how to program Python or anything.
Not at all.
You just tell the AI, I only want to see upbeat news about renewable energy and pictures of golden retrievers, and the AI dynamically builds that algorithm for you on the fly.
Yes.
And notably, despite Bluesky's investor base, they were very explicit that there are 0 crypto integrations involved here. It's pure user-controlled curation.
So we have AI acting as a highly effective personal shopper, and we have AI letting us build custom social realities. But when you take that exact same autonomous technology and introduce it to the realm of national security, the entire paradigm of who is in control completely fractures.
Yeah, we really need to look closely at the ongoing lawsuit between Anthropic and the federal government. specifically the Pentagon and the Trump administration.
Sure.
Because the core of this dispute is entirely about guardrails.
Right.
Anthropic has these strict internal red lines built deep into their AI model, Claude. They categorically refuse to allow Claude to be used for domestic mass surveillance or to power fully autonomous weapons systems.
And the Defense Department's response to that is essentially, you do not get to dictate military policy.
Right.
The Pentagon argues that the military must maintain the absolute authority to use advanced technology for all lawful purposes. Their stance is that a private civilian vendor cannot embed its own corporate morality into a tool and force the military to abide by it, especially when there are already established federal laws and treaties governing surveillance and warfare.
And because Anthropic refused to strip those safety guardrails out of their system, the Trump administration actually took executive action. They officially labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk.
Which is a huge deal.
It is a very heavy formal designation, usually reserved for foreign adversaries or known corporate saboteurs. The president ordered every single federal agency to immediately cease all use of Anthropic's technology, effectively blacklisting them from the government.
Which brings us to the explosive legal ruling from U.S. District Judge Rita Lynn, who temporarily blocked the government's ban. Her written rationale was, frankly, scathing. She called the administration's supply chain risk designation Orwellian.
Yeah, she stated that punishing an American company for sticking to its safety principles and criticizing the government's contracting demands in the press is classic illegal First Amendment retaliation.
Wow.
The judge basically said, look, the government has every right to simply choose not to buy from Anthropic, but they cannot maliciously brand an American company a national security threat just because they disagree on deployment policy.
And this raises an important question, right? This is the critical tension that both sides of the political spectrum are wrestling with deeply right now. It's a profound question about liability and ultimate authority. Does the private creator of an AI hold the moral right and perhaps the legal obligation to enforce safety guardrails on their invention? Or does the end user, particularly when that user is the federal government tasked with the defense of the nation, have the ultimate authority to deploy the technology as they see fit, free from corporate restrictions?
So what does this all mean? It's really an unprecedented collision of corporate ethics, military necessity, and constitutional free speech. It's like a company selling a highly advanced jet engine, right?
Right.
The creator says, you absolutely cannot put this engine inside a bomber plane.
Yeah.
But the buyer says, I bought the engine, I am the government, I decide what flies.
Exactly. And Judge Lynn's ruling is only a temporary injunction. The Department of Justice is already appealing it. So this specific legal battle is going to set the bedrock precedent for how artificial intelligence is governed at the highest levels of global power.
It has been quite the journey today. I mean, we started with Matthew Gallagher, a single guy sitting in his house managing an orchestra of AI agents to build a billion-dollar GLP-1 telehealth empire.
Yeah.
We unpacked the extreme mathematical gymnastics of turboquant and polar coordinates, shrinking massive neural networks down so they can run entirely offline on your phone. We watched giants like OpenAI panic, shutting down massive projects to pivot their entire business toward controlling the PR narrative. And then we ended in a federal courtroom with a judge deciding whether a private tech company can tell the U.S. military how to use its artificial mind.
It's a lot, but when you step back and look at all these pieces together, the picture becomes incredibly clear. Whether you are intensely curious about where technology is heading, or you are prepping for a board meeting trying to figure out how your specific industry survives this transition, the takeaway for you is the same. AI is no longer just a passive search tool.
Not at all.
It is an active, autonomous participant in our economy and our society. And the rules of engagement, like who controls it, how it operates, and what it is legally allowed to do, are being written in real time.
Absolutely. And as we move deeper into this era where the car is basically driving itself, where AI agents are doing the heavy lifting, writing the code, managing the budgets, and literally filtering the reality we see on our screens, I want to leave you with this. Who exactly will we hold responsible when an AI makes a truly catastrophic mistake?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Think back to Medvi. If a one-person, billion-dollar company's AI hallucinated a dangerous medical dosage instead of just faking a drug price, who takes the fall? Is the solo founder liable for failing to catch it? Is the creator of the AI model liable for building a flawed system? Or if they're using an Apache 2.0 open source model that anyone can modify, is the open source community liable? The technology to change the world is already sitting on our desks, but the accountability for when it breaks is entirely unresolved. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take care.